Another issue with our implementation is that we are sampling every 30 seconds. So if we had a lot of sensors, this would mean a huge data growth over time. But Influxdb has a nice way of using retention policies and continuous queries to deal with this. So let's just jump over into Postman. There we go. And show the retention policies for our database. So to do that, it's simply a query to our Influx instance with a show retention policies on our database. As we can see, there is only one retention policy. Its name is autogen, and it's the one that's default with all databases. The duration is the time before a point is deleted. So for the default value of autogen, it's actually infinite. So the points will never be deleted. A shard group duration, I will not go into details on that. Replication says how many times we want to replicate it if we have a cluster. So when for now we are just using a single node, so it will always be 1, and you can see that it's on by default. So let's see how we can use retention policies and a continuous query for downsampling our temperatures. So in order to do this, we first need to restart our Influxdb instance. So if we just stop it and we run docker compose down, all the data from the database will be removed. So now just running docker compose up again, we have a fresh instance of Influxdb. So the steps we need to go through to create our retention policies and data is to first we need to create our Udemy database again, and then we are creating our retention policies. So we're creating one policy on 1 year, that's the duration of 52 weeks, and another retention policy of 2 weeks that has a duration of course 2 weeks and is set on by default. So if we are sending this, we are successful, and then we need to create our continuous query. This query will be run every so often we specify, so we are grouped by time of 10 minutes. This means that this will run every 10 minutes. And we give it a name, and then for the actual query itself, we are selecting the mean temperature and putting it into 1 year, which is the retention policy we just created, dot 10-minute sensors. From our 2 weeks retention policy dot measurement name. So we would expect a new measurement of 10-minute sensors after these have been run. So we create our continuous query. We can also just make sure that it's here. We can specify a Q parameter to the query. Let's just see if we have our, yeah, we have our retention policy here. No, sorry, continuous query. So now let's jump into Python, and we will use the script in our repo, the add data with retention policy. This is exactly the same as before, except for 2 changes. We are starting, instead of starting 24 hours into the past, we are starting right now, because our continuous query will only work on new data points being made. And then we are specifying RP parameter. Since we put it on by default, this is not necessary, but I will just want to show you how you can put it into another retention policy. So let's just run this script, and it ran successfully. Now I just want to check to make sure that we have showed the measurements in our Udemy database, and we see we only have 1 of sensors. And now we'll have to just be patient and wait for the continuous query to run, and then we would expect to have another measurement. So I will just pause the video and see you later. Before jumping into the log and seeing that our continuous query has been run, let's just go through the steps we just did. So first we needed to restart Influxdb by using docker compose down and then docker compose up to get a fresh start. Then we created 2 retention policies, one for 2 weeks and one for 1 year. We created our continuous query, the downsampling, 1 point every 10 minutes. And then we added data with the new parameter of rp equals 2 weeks that started today and went 24 hours into the future. And then we just awaited our query to run. So let's just jump into the log now. From the log we could see that our post request of writing was done. It was done at 04:12, and then we see further at 04:20 our continuous query execution has started, and then we can see that we are executing our specific query in the line below, where we see our name of our continuous query, and it's executed. We can recognize our query, and then finally it's finished, and we can see that 1 point has been written. So let's jump back into Postman and run our show measurements query again. Now we see that we have a new measurement of 10-minute sensors, and we can go ahead and query. First we can just look at all the points we have in our 2 weeks sensors measurement. We see we have a lot of points, and for this last period between 04:10 and 04:20 we will hopefully get the average. So in this query, let us just specify 1 year as the retention policy, and then 10 minutes sensors. Oh yes, sensors. And let's see if we get anything. No, we don't. Let's see. Let's just try to remove the where clause. And there we go. We actually now have, since it's gone some time, we have 2 points. So one for 04:10 and one for 04:20. Why didn't we get points where we were defining the where clause? I think you probably know it too. We forgot to select sensor ID when we were writing our continuous query. So let's just check that. In our continuous query we are selecting mean temperature as temperature, so we are only selecting temperature. We're not selecting the sensor ID. So I will leave this as an exercise for you to try out later, but for now I just want to move on.